I've had a few people ask me about this. I hope that's helpful to you. Miscellaneous bit of the end is now over. Now we've got a secret new section of the podcast where Lewis Spears talks about God. No, it's not going to be a regular segment. I'm not going to be one of those. Unfortunately, I regret to inform you that I have found God. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, fucking here we go. And that's what I was thinking when I walked into a church for the second time and was like, I'm excited to be here. I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, he's not going to turn into one of those fucking... Oh, no, I found God and I've kept it to myself, and it's happened this year, and it's been absolutely fucking lovely. I've loved it. It's been a beautiful addition to my life, and it's helped me engage with my community a lot. And I thought I would talk about it because I'm getting a lot of questions about it, because a few people have noticed on my Instagram stories that, you know, they've been like, oh, this guy's been going to a church. What the fuck? I talked about it a little bit more in depth on Patreon. And I just want to preface it with saying I'm never going to be preachy. I don't believe in that. I wasn't brought up religious. I don't like any sort of anti-gay shit, or any sort of super militant, loud, judgmental faith or religion or anything like that. I don't like that. I never have. And I'm not going to turn into that, because I don't think that's good. I don't think that's what it should be. And I don't think that's what is what God wants it to be either. Right. So I've really started getting into it in January of this year. When I was in Perth, it's honestly a series of like coincidences and weird things that I've felt, as it sounds, have led me to God. And I'm not going to talk about this often because I feel like it's not of interest to a lot of people, and I understand that, but it's becoming part of my life. So, and people are asking, so that's why I put it at the end. You can skip this. I was in Perth, and I woke up one Sunday morning, not to go anywhere in particular. In fact, I wanted a Powerade because I was really dehydrated because I performed the night before and it was really hot. So I'm like, fuck, I need a Powerade now. And I had been buying them, but there was none in the fridge. And anyway, I'm walking to the supermarket and I just walked past this beautiful old church and the bells are ringing. And I thought, man, that sounds really nice. And then I thought, fuck it. And I just walked in. Never been to that church. Didn't know what denomination it was. Didn't know anything about it. I just thought, well, fuck it. Why not? I didn't have a show on that night. I just thought, and also my hotel was really hot. And I'm like, I'm sick of my hotel. The church is probably air conditioning. I go in, I listen to this service, and it was really nice. And they had a piano player and they were playing their music and all this kind of stuff. And before the piano player, they go, oh, we've got a piano because the organ player is sick. But next Sunday, our regular organ player will be back. And I thought, fuck, I've never heard an organ before. I would love to hear an organ. That sounds really cool. I've got to go back. And I was just going back for the organ because I wanted to hear one. And the only place you can really hear them are at like by spending $250 on a fucking concert ticket, and you got to wear a tuxedo to at the Sydney Opera House or like a beautiful old venue like that. Or you can just walk into like any kind of nice church and hear it for free. So I thought, all right, I got to hear organ. I want to hear it. Never heard it before. I go back the next Sunday and one of the most beautiful instruments I've ever heard. The entire building is an instrument, and it was magnificent. And from a music perspective, this isn't me experiencing the Holy Spirit. I was just like, that's a fucking sick instrument. That's cool. And then I had, and then I just went back. After then, they go, oh, by the way, next week we're having this guy who is literally the best organ player in the world. He won competitions like the world organ competition over in Texas or something. And he's back living in Perth looking after his family because they're ill. And then someone else goes, oh, yeah, I think he does like theaters over in America. Like he's toured the world because he's like the organ player. And I thought, fuck, well, now I have to go back because I heard the woman playing the organ and she was beautiful, but I can't skip the best organ player in the fucking world. I've got to go back next Sunday. I go back and holy fuck, it was even better. Amazing. And I thought, man, I'm actually enjoying the sermon also and the things that the priest is saying. It was a uniting church. It was, because I didn't know. I thought it was a Catholic church because it was a big, beautiful old building and it had the organ and everything, and the guy was wearing robes, so I just kind of assumed it was Catholic, and then I Googled it and it was a uniting church of Australia. And I thought, oh, well, that's whatever. And then anyway, I'm leaving, and the priest goes, hey, I've seen you've come a few times. His name was Hollis. He was an American guy, American black guy. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm just doing Perth Fringe, blah, blah, blah. And I came back and I liked it so much I kept coming back. And he goes, that's amazing. You know what? I think I love you, Lewis. And I went, oh, fuck. I think I love you too. That was, gave me a big hug. I was like, fuck, that was nice. That was a really nice, positive thing from a stranger. And one of the sermons he talked about the lady priest in America that after Trump's inauguration, I think, like kind of said some stuff about compassion, and then got like slandered for it and piled upon, even though that's what, you know, you would hope all religion should be, is about compassion and being nice to people. And he kind of highlighted that, and I thought, fuck, that's cool that they're highlighting like this person, and it wasn't done through a political lens. Like he wasn't trashing Trump or anything. He was just like, I want to shine a light on this person who took the opportunity to preach compassion, even though they knew they were probably going to cop it, right? A lot of negativity for it. And I was like, man, I really like that. And I like that they put a woman up there. Because, you know, like walking into a church, like most people who didn't grow up religious, I'm on fucking high alert for like, you know, the pastor driving the Lamborghini and preaching about how gay people should, you know, repent, and about how women should be subservient, and, you know, about how fucking, you know, guilting people, and it all being about money and guilt, and just, you know, all of the negative stereotypes of religion, especially Christianity, that you see, right? So I was on high alert for that, and I just didn't get any of that. In fact, I got shown the opposite. And then the whole thing with the piano and the organ, and then an even better organist. It's like, man, I feel like God was putting the carrot on the stick, being like, hey, buddy, you want to listen to some cool music? Sucked in. I might be real. So then it was that in Perth in January, and I thought, oh, well, that was really nice, but, you know, maybe I'll go back when I'm in Perth. And then just coincidentally, in Frankston, there's a fuckload of churches around. So I just Googled, like, what churches are there? Because I didn't know that the Uniting Church of Australia was like, I think it's the third biggest organized church in Australia after Catholics, and then another one. And then I find out that there's actually a bunch of those in Frankston as well. I'm like, oh, cool. And then there was one like near me, and I thought, oh, I could walk to that. And again, I'm on super high alert. And I'm gonna obscure a few details because I don't really want to talk about my church because I don't want, yeah. But anyway, I got all of the opposite signs of that. Like, I was on high alert about how churches can sometimes spend money or be all about money and guilt and women and gays and all this kind of stuff and negativity and not being what I think they should be about, which is, charity, forgiveness, compassion, being good, right? Because I've experienced a lot of, like, in the last few years, a lot of the worst of humanity has touched my life, right? Like, lots and lots of violence, lots of horrible, awful things that I haven't spoken about because it's all very private, but one day I may, right? So a lot of the worst of humanity has touched my life and really made me retreat from men, made me retreat from people, made me kind of border on fuck. It maybe kind of hit me with this realization of, like, shit, I think I may have had the complete wrong view of humans. Maybe I am completely wrong about what I think humans are and what they're capable of and all this kind of stuff, right? Kind of really fuck with my worldview, which was, I think that most people are good and I think most people want to do good. And then all in a row over the last, like, 5 years or so, just horrible shit touched my life and loved ones and stuff like that. Not really me personally, but, like, and it really shook my entire worldview. And so then I'm going into church and I'm on fucking high alert for all of these horrible traits. And every time I went, I was presented with the exact opposite. Like, this is really funny. I'll tell this story, and I think I told it on Patreon maybe. I go into, I think it was the first or the second time I went to what I now have been going to every single week since, maybe February. I haven't missed one. I walk in and I was on very high alert about, like, treatment of women and children and all this kind of stuff, obviously. Right. And regular reverend's not there. They've got a lady reverend. And I thought, oh, cool, that's nice. She gives a nice sermon, and then I'm still sus on money because I'm like, because that's a big thing for me and a big thing for everyone. Where we I mean, you look at the Vatican and you're like, where's all that coming from? Where's all that money coming from? Look at the fucking golden rods and gilded this and that and the pomp and the ceremony that is undeniably fucking beautiful and cool. But is that helping anyone other than the people putting on the costumes and doing the, it's like gaudy and isn't necessarily what I think a religion should be, which should be about compassion and trying to create our own little heaven on earth. You know what I mean? And I get in, I think it was either my first or maybe I think it was the second time I'd ever gone there. They go, oh, by the way, we're having our quarterly meeting. And they get me to come in. I'll go to the meeting, whatever. Because at this point, I'm just a little bit, like, amused by it all. I'm like, oh, I'm still learning. I've never really read the Bible. I'm, like, on the fence about whether I'm going to keep going back. But I thought, well, fuck it, I'll just do it, right? And I stick around for the meeting. And they hand me a printout of the financials from the last 18 months, every single dollar in and out of this little church. And I'm a stranger, and they just go, here's how much money we have in the bank, here's how much we spent, here's how much we made. And they were like, they had some savings, but they were losing money every year. But they go, oh, because we had an unexpected jump in money through this particular fundraiser that we did, we are losing money still, but we made more than we usually do, so we're going to up our donation to this local charity by $150. And I just thought that is what this should be. That's fucking beautiful. And I thought, you know what? If God's not real, this is a group of people that I would be proud to like be with and help out. And I've been going to this church, and I am the youngest person by, it'd have to be at 40 years, literally. Like the average age is like 70. I'm the youngest person by far. And what's been really nice about it is I've been able to do all these things that is dangerous for them. I climbed a ladder and painted a sign that needed painting for years, right? I just popped down on a weekday. Someone else brought paint. I painted the sign, and they were all stoked because it needed, like, the color had faded. It needed, like, this big pop of red had faded over the years, and no one was willing to risk their life to climb a ladder to paint it. And I was like, I'll just do it. I can do that. I'm able-bodied. And since then, I've been able to do a bunch of stuff. One of the ladies, she's 85. I walk her home every Sunday. And it's been really, really good for me after all of the shit that I've been through and all of the horrible things that I've seen humans do that have touched my life. It's been so good to be around a group of people that are just trying to be good people and that are trying every day to be better. And being part of that community has been so healing for me. And it's brought me a lot closer to God. And I never grew up religious. I never believed in one religion. I always believed in a creator. Like, I always just thought that made sense. And I've talked about this a lot, like every single piece of like evidence about evolution and the Big Bang, and like every time we understand the universe a little bit more, it affirms my belief a little bit more that something snapped their fingers and created it. Like, it just makes sense to me. And when people are like, oh yeah, but like we couldn't possibly prove it, I'm like, no, of course we couldn't, because we wouldn't be able to. A creator, whatever created the universe, if we could possibly comprehend it, track it down and understand it in our view of the universe and our plane of existence, if we were capable of that, they couldn't possibly have created us and everything around us. So for me, like, thinking about that makes me believe in a creator more. But I completely understand why hearing the exact same thing, it makes people go, well, that's obviously fucking bullshit. Like, it's like the same, we're hearing the same evidence and coming to the opposite conclusion. Every single thing I learn about the universe and how it was made just makes me feel more and more that, like, there's some sort of person who pushed the start button and created it. And it's been such a good thing for me. And I bought a Bible recently. My pastor recommended, or my reverend, I don't even know what they're supposed to be. I've started reading it, and I got the new international version, so it's not full of these and thous. And we just had Easter, which is the whole big Jesus thing, and again with Jesus, I was like, okay, well, it's almost undeniable that Jesus was definitely a real guy, right? There's records of him being crucified, and there's like Roman sources from the time that weren't followers of Christianity and weren't Jewish have all acknowledged the existence of this guy who, if he's not the Son of God, seemed to be like a wise guy with some cool ideas about being nice to each other. right? So if we're all wrong and he's not God, then by following some of the philosophy that he preached, it'll make the world a little bit better. You know, love your neighbor and treat people how you'd like to be treated is what it all boils down to. And don't hoard your wealth and help poor people, and don't judge respect women even if they're prostitutes. Those are all like cool ideas, right? So even if he was just some like loony hippie guy who was just had a few nice ideas about compassion, I'm like, okay, well, he either was sent by God and he is the Son of God and I'm right and I'll get to chill out with him in heaven, or I will have like a philosophy of kindness that I'm following with a community of people that are also following that, and we're making each other's lives better by hanging out and singing songs every Sunday. So it's a win-win, right? But I was, I'd have these, I've always believed in a God, but I've never prescribed to any one religion. In fact, I always thought that, like, I think that every book and every religious text is getting the vibe of it right, because I think it's impossible for us to understand God, because if we could comprehend him, he wouldn't be God. It's like an ant cannot possibly know what I'm thinking. It's not, it could get a sense of me, but it would never be able to see me. It could only just feel my thunderous footsteps and maybe my shadow and be like, fuck, I think something's there. But it would never be able to like step back and even if it could physically see me, it could never look into my mind and understand the vastness of it. And that's kind of how I view God. And I've always thought, oh, well, all the books are kind of getting the vibe right. But the more I go and the more I listen to the sermons and the more I read the Bible, I'm like, I think this is actually making a lot of sense to me. And it's actually been hugely beneficial in my life to just like, honestly, it's like God for me is just gratitude and a reminder to try. It's like gratitude to be put here at all, and a constant gentle reminder to try your best to be good to other people on the planet. And to be surrounded by a community of people that are also trying their best to do the same has been so good for me, who has seen so much of the opposite and the evils of mankind. It's just been exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. And I feel like that's not a coincidence. And I feel like all of the things that have been very gently pushing me to go there the first time, and then next time there'll be an organ. Next time there'll be an even better organ player. Hey, guess what? The same denomination that you went to that you really liked, they're around the corner. You can fucking walk there. Oh, you're really worried about women? Well, fucking guess what? The first time you go there, there's going to be a woman reverend. And the second time you're there, even the whole time you're going, yeah, but what about this and what about that? I'm like, all right, fine. So all of those things are okay, but what about the fucking money? Where's the money going? Second time I get literally every single dollar in and out. And after all of those things, I'm like, yeah, but maybe, all right, fine, okay, cool. I'll accept all of this, but maybe Jesus was just a guy. Maybe he wasn't like actually sent by God. And then during Easter, I got asked to do a reading, which I'd never done before, right? Good Friday, which is the day that Jesus was crucified. And I was given a reading, and it's the, what is it? And again, I'm not going to talk about this all the time because this is not a religious podcast and I don't really want to share this stuff all the time. But so many people have asked me that I'm talking about it, and I imagine all the people who don't give a fuck have checked out. It was Isaiah 53 was the reading that I was given, and that's from the Old Testament, and that was written hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus was born. And Isaiah 53, if you Google it, it's about a page, you can read it. It fucking predicts Jesus' birth and the nature of his death and why. Down to the point where there's one sentence, I can't really remember it. Again, I haven't even read the full book, right? So I'm very new to this whole thing. But there's one passage in there in Isaiah 53 that says basically a very disgusting man who everyone looks down upon, who is born into poverty and who is derided, rises up and acts kind to everyone and takes on our iniquities, the iniquities of the world, or our sins, right? All our mistakes and everything, and takes it upon himself. And for that, he is pierced, stabbed with a spear, and he dies and takes our iniquities with him. Like, it literally fucking prophesizes his entire birth and death and why he dies. And I was given that right when I was like kind of being like, okay, well, look, I feel like God's definitely real, but I don't know about all this Jesus thing and the Christian thing or whatever. Maybe it's just like, maybe Jesus was just like a wise philosopher, like Seneca or Epictetus, you know? Maybe he was just like a guy who had a lot of good ideas on how to live a kind life, and that's why he's got so much impact. And then the reading that I get given is like, actually, here's a reading that predicts his life and death. And I'm like, that's crazy. And then I go, yeah, but like, you know, I immediately jump on Google. I'm like, yeah, but surely they just fucking chucked that in the Old Testament after Jesus. And then we're like, look, see. But they found that exact passage written exactly that way in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were found, fact check this, but hundreds of years after Jesus, but they were definitely written hundreds of years before Jesus. So it's like, well, fuck, it looks like that prophecy was fulfilled down to a T. So maybe he is real. Maybe he really was sent by God. I don't know. I'm still very, very, very early days on this. Like I said, I've read some passages and some chapters of the Bible. It's a huge book, and I'm jumping around a lot and reading through it. But the main thing that I am getting from it is gratitude and a community of people that are trying their best to be better, and a best friend that I can talk to and pray to whenever I want about whatever I want. And no matter what I do or what I think, he's there with his hand on my shoulder saying, it's okay, mate, I understand, and I believe in you, and I think you can heal from this, or if you've fucked up, I forgive you and I believe that you can do better, and I'll hold you accountable to that. And there's been so many things in my life that have happened in the lead up to this, like in the short term lead up to this, like a year before all of this, there were some spooky things that happened where that seemed supernatural, that were like gently pushing me to something that I didn't know. And I think it's this. So yeah, I don't know. It's been I was not expecting this. It was the last thing that I thought that I'd be doing is going to church every Sunday and hanging out with like 70-year-olds and helping them paint and walking them home. and finding God and reading the Bible and praying and talking to Jesus while I'm walking around, but it's added so much to my life in the, I don't know, less than 6 months I've been going and really opening myself up to the possibility that not only is it real, but maybe I even believe in it. And I'm just giving it an earnest, red-hot go. And right now it's adding a lot. So, but don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I too, when I first started getting into this, even I was like, fucking here we go. Even I was like, he's going to turn into one of those fucking Jesus freaks. I liked this guy. Even I was thinking that. So don't worry, I'm not going to turn all preacher on you. And I'm not going to, and that's why I haven't spoken about it for, in detail for so long, because I didn't want to just be like, week 2, be like, all right, I'm fucking born again Christian. I'm going to stop swearing. And if you're gay and you're listening to this, you better switch off. Yeah, I'm not going to, it's like, I'm finding that it's not necessarily changing me. I feel like it's allowing me to be who I always was and I always have been. It's a real, it really feels like I'm returning to myself a lot. And I don't really know what that means because I've never gone to church. I went like a couple of times to youth group when I was a teenager because I had a crush on a girl. But when I asked her on a date and she said, as friends, I went, well, I'm never going back. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still exploring what it means and how it fits into my life. But right now, at the moment, it's been such a beautiful addition having faith and God in my life. So that's all I really have to say about it. I'm not going to talk about it all the time because I don't think that it's supposed to be a super preachy thing. I don't think I'm better than you. If you think I'm speaking a load of bullshit, it's what's going on in my life, and that's what the show's always been. So I don't know, dude. Spearhead Sundays. Maybe it could be maybe I could turn it into like you know what? Okay, hear me out. I know I just said that I wasn't going to let this change me. How about this? Spearhead Sundays, it now turns into a weekly sermon where I just fucking paraphrase whatever my reverend said. I present it as my original thought, and then I start really pressuring you to tithe every week, 10% of your earnings need to go on the Patreon. At the bare minimum through Super Chat. How about that? Probably not. I wouldn't like that either. But yeah, anyway, that's it. I'm not going to talk about this too much because it's kind of my little personal journey with God, and who knows where it'll take me. Hopefully not to the Westboro Baptist Church, but anything's possible. All right, that's it. Have a shit one. Bye.